Today we're going to be looking at, we're going to change vertex form that you're familiar with to what's called standard form. I want to take some time, though this piece is already filled in on your sheet, so I want to take some time to review that vertex form and then change into our new standard form. So let's take a look, and we can use the organizer up at the top to help us
My last made me feel like I would never try again,
to help us fill in what we need.
you, I felt something I never felt. Come closer, something I never felt. Come closer, give you all.
All right, so let's take a look at example number 1. The first thing we come across is we have a 2 in front of our parentheses. So let's take a look at our diagram. We look in front of our parentheses. We don't have a negative, so we're not going to reflect, but we do have a number that's bigger than 1. So a greater than 1, a is bigger than 1, so we're going to stretch. So we're going to stretch. We go inside the parentheses, and I see an x plus 2. So I go inside the parentheses, and we're adding. So we have an x plus 3, so it's an x plus h situation. So we're going to go left 3. Last but not least, we have a minus 8, totally outside the parentheses. So when we go, we're looking at our k value. When we have a minus k, we go down. So we're going to go down 8. So I filled this in. I had left this at the top for you guys because all that pieces up there, that should all be reviewed for you. So it hopefully looks familiar. Hopefully it's sounding familiar when we're talking about going left and down and we're stretching. Hopefully that sounds familiar. Now those are, what we just laid out for you are the transformations. So if you want to list them under here, you can, or if you want to do the arrows like I did up there, this is how my brain works, is with the arrows. So those are your transformations. So if I ask you for transformations, we're talking about reflections and stretches, left, right, up, and down, okay? Now what we can also pull from that equation is our vertex. Our vertex is that ordered pair where the two sides of that U shape, that parabola, come together. It might be our very lowest point, it might be our very highest point. And it's negative 3.
Now when you buy one delicious footlong in the Subway app, you can get one free.
Did you say
We
buy
go
one, get
left
one free?
3.
Yep.
Any
And we go
footlong.
down
Any you like
8.
when you order in the Subway app.
If you need
Classic
to, if this
tuna?
is something
Free.
that
Melty steak and
you
cheese?
got stuck with
free.
last
Turkey?
trimester,
Free.
Italian
that's
BMT?
part of why
all
we
free.
do the
It's your
transformation.
choice.
We're supposed to go
Wow,
left
so
3 and
much
down
pressure.
8. So that'd be a negative 3.
For a limited time, enjoy
negative 8.
any Subway footlong.
I'm going to go
buy
ahead as
one,
we
get
find
one
each
free in
piece.
the app.
I'm going to go
Only
ahead
at
and put
Subway.
that on our graph.
Free sub of equal or
Let's
lesser
go ahead and
price.
graph
No
the
extras,
ordered
limit
pair,
one.
negative
Participating
3.
shops, no additional discounts, no delivery.
Negative 8. Some other
you know how it
pieces we
feels
can
when you've
pull
saved
from
enough
our
for that long-awaited
equation
home
without
edition?
having to do much work at all. The
Now
axis of
imagine an
symmetry.
addition on that addition.
We always have to have x
That's
equals
the
there.
feeling with Capital One, where a new savings account
Because
earns
it's
an
a
interest
vertical
rate
line.
5
So
times
vertical
the
lines
national
are always
average.
x
That's right,
equals.
5
Does
times.
anybody remember
as
which value
represented
is
by
gonna go with
5
that
times
x
more
equals?
singers. This is banking
Negative
reimagined.
3.
Capital
Yep, it's
One.
always the
What's
x
in
value.
your wallet?
Terms apply.
So the
Rate
negative
comparison
3
based on
from our
FDIC
vertex
national rate. Capital
is
One
the
NA
negative
member
3 for our
FDIC.
axis of symmetry. Now, your teacher last trimester, I don't know if they had you graph the axis of symmetry or not. It's up to you if you graph it. It helps me graph. So I go ahead and I just make it a dotted line down the middle of my graph. It should always go right through your vertex. Now, if we take a little quiz or test and you don't draw that on there, I'm not going to penalize you for it. It helps me graph. It helps me graph. The other part that we can get from our equation without doing any kind of work at all is our maximum or minimum value. Does anybody remember which value that is? It's going to be the negative 8. Yeah. It's going to be the negative 8 value. Now, how do I know, though, if we're going to have a maximum or a minimum? Anybody know that one? So if our graph, is this graph going to open up, or is this graph going to be reflected and open down? Which way is our graph going to be? it's going to go up, right? We didn't reflect it. So it's going to open up. There's no reflection, so our graph's going to open up. So we have a really, really low point. So we have a minimum. So if there's no reflection, our graph opens up. It looks like a U. We're going to have a minimum value. We're going to have a really low point. So all this information we can get just from our equation. Just from our equation. Now the y-intercept and x-intercepts, those take a little more work. So up at the top under y-intercept, I put the directions of how we would do that. If I want the y-intercept, I'm going to put a 0 in for my x. So I'm going to have y equals, the 2 is still going to be there, a parenthesis, and then instead of x, I'm going to put a 0. Now the nice thing is about this, if you want to go through the work to do the computation piece by piece, you sure can. If you don't want to do that, guys, grab a calculator. And into the calculator, type exactly what you see. Type a 2, type a 0 plus 3. And there's a square if you want to you should get 10. If you don't get 10, let me know so I can check it out. So make sure you have to do a minus, not a negative. Just make sure you have a minus. Everybody else not getting it. Try one of these. So with very little work on our part, we've got a y-intercept. Y-intercept, guys, goes on the y-axis. So at 10, so the 10 we're going to go right there. Now here's the cool part. We draw that axis of symmetry because if I fold my graph in half on that axis of symmetry, the two sides should match. So if I have a point over here on the right side at 10, that's 1, 2, 3 spaces from that middle, from that axis of symmetry. I'm going to have a point on the other side, 1, 2, 3, 1. So we're doing very little work. So far, we've got 3 points already on our graph. Now the other piece I do want to make sure I refresh you on is how we find our x-intercepts. And up at the top, I have a little note for you for x-intercept. Put 0 in for y and solve for x. So 0 goes in for y, and everything else stays the same. Now finding it kind of depends which teacher you had last trimester as to how much work you did with finding the x-intercepts here. So can everybody get me started on this? What's going to be my first step? So we're going to divide next. What do we want to move first? We want to move our that -8. How are we going to move -8 to the other side? Alright, so let's add that 8 to both sides. So 8 equals 2. So nothing else changes. So we add that 8 to the other side. Oops, that's not a 3. Now the math is saying something about needing to divide by 2, and we do. We can't distribute the 2 because the parentheses are being squared. So to undo that multiplying by 2, we have to divide by it. So over on that right side, the 2 is simplified, and it doesn't change anything with that x plus 2. So what we have left, we have 4 equals, we have an x plus 3. Now again, like I said, so do I have any questions to this point before we do on this? Maybe what to do, what do you think we're going to do next? Square root. To undo that square, guys, we're going to square root both sides. Now, in your calculators, there is a square root feature if you're ever stuck on this one. If you put the square root of 4 in your calculator, it's just going to tell you 2. 2 equals x plus 3. But those of you that did this a lot last trimester, what's my other case? Square root of 4 could be 2, but it could also be negative 2. Yeah. So when you take the square root of 4, your calculator is just going to tell you 2. It could also be negative 2. Because if I square 2, I get 4. And if I square negative 2, I also get 4. So there's actually 2 possibilities for that. Now let's go ahead and subtract our 3. My mama doesn't trust him. Typically, you're going to have 2x intercepts. Sometimes you don't have any, sometimes you only have 1. But most times when you solve, you're going to have 2. And these go on the x-axis. So x at negative 1 is here, and x at negative 5 is right here. Now we have 5 points. That's a lot of points. We're going to get a nice looking graph. And it should be curvy. I know you guys have also graphed absolute value this year. And absolute value had that V shape to it, and we also did all the transformations with that. This is the parabola, it's that curvy U shape. So everything we just did should be reviewed from you. Should be reviewed from last trimester. Now we have our nice graph. I wanted to make sure we reviewed what you already know. And then we're going to build on that. We're going to get our second form for our quadratics. It's called standard form. And I want to show you, we're going to change our vertex form to standard form. And then in our next lesson, we're going to start graphing. So I want to show you guys today, refresher on how you already know to graph the vertex form. And vertex, axis of symmetry, maximum and minimum, y-intercepts, x-intercepts, what all those things mean, things you already know. And then I want to show you vertex form. We can change it to standard form. And then our graph is going to look the same. But sometimes we start in standard form. So let's go ahead and let's go y equals. I'm just going to copy my equation down here. I'm just going to copy my equation down is all I'm going to do. And we want to change it so we get rid of all those parentheses and things. So this is why on that first review assignment, that puzzle time 1 we did together, this is why I had you looking at what happens if we have a set of parentheses squared and what that means. So we have to start with our exponents first. So I'm going to leave the 2 there. And then when you guys reviewed this on that first puzzle time sheet, a lot of you I saw writing the x plus 3 twice. And in case you didn't get that on the review sheet, if you have the x plus 3 and that quantity, what's in the parentheses, is being squared, it means that thing times itself. Now from there, we do have to distribute. Some of you call it distribute, some of you call it FOIL. That's where we take the x times the x, and we get x squared. We take the x times the 3 and get 3x. Then 3 times x, and then 3 times 3. The thing we have to notice, the things we have added on from when we reviewed a couple classes ago, we still have that 2 out front, and we still have a -8 off the end. The plus 9 is when we do 3 times 3. So this piece right here, 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is where we get this 9. So now, before we worry about that 2, we can put the 3 x's together. We can put the 3 x's together, and we'll get 6x. But again, keep in mind, we haven't done anything with the 2 yet, or the -8, so don't lose those. That's the tricky part. I know you guys can all do the distributing, or if you call it FOIL, whatever you called it last trimester. I know you guys can all do that. You guys can all get the x squared plus 6x plus 9. Don't lose the 2. Don't lose the -8. So now we have to multiply distribute the 2 through.
That's not right.
Before we can minus the 8. And then our last piece, we can put the 18 and the minus 8 together. So I'm going to write that over here. Our final result, 2x squared plus 12x. And then we're not going to change any signs. It's literally 18 minus 8. And we're going to get a plus 10. Now I know you're thinking, Miss Callie, but if we already have vertex form and we can get all that stuff in our graph pretty easily, why do we need to change? When we start graphing these next week, or excuse me, next lesson later this week, you're going to start in the standard form. I wanted to show you though today that vertex form can be changed to standard form. So then our graph, when we graph next lesson, it's going to have all the same pieces. The key things we need to be able to pick out are A, B, and C from this equation. The A value is just the number in front of the squared. So our A value is going to be 2. The B value is in front of our plain X term. So our B value is going to be 12. Our C value is going to be that plain old constant all by itself. So this is going to be, next lesson, how we're going to start. I just want to make sure we spend some time today reviewing vertex, axis of symmetry, all those things you already know, and then showing you vertex form and standard form, that they are related. 2 different forms that are going to represent the same graph. It's going to represent the same thing. Let's try one more of these together. Then I want to give you guys one to try, and we'll call it a day. Go to the back side of your sheet. Now, if you're feeling a little more comfortable and you want to try picking out some of these things yourself, go ahead. So as we go, let's start with our transformations. The negative sign is one we didn't see on example 1. What's the negative sign going to do for us? It's going to reflect, yeah. It's going to reflect. So that means our graph's going to open down. That's what reflection means. It's going to take our graph and flip it upside down. All right, now what if we have a number in front that we're multiplying by and it's smaller than 1? It's a shrink. Did some of you call it a compression last trimester? Or was it shrinks? Shrinks across the board? Okay. Do the parentheses. When we subtract in the parentheses, which way are we going? We're going right. Yeah, very good, guys. We're going to go right 2. And then the plus 8 is going to make me go up 8. Yeah. Now again, guys, those are your transformations. So you don't have to rewrite those there. If you like doing the arrows, guys, that's fine. If you like listing them, list them. So then our vertex, we go right 2, up 8. So everything's going to be positive. Right's positive, up's positive. Axis of symmetry, x equals the x value at the vertex. What do we think, guys? We're going to have minimum or maximum? No. We're going to have a max because we reflected, right? If we reflect, we have that high point, we have a max. And it's going to be a max of 8. Now, if we want to find the y-intercept, the 0 goes in for x. The y-intercept's the easy one to find. But make sure, double check it, guys. I'm serious. Use the calculator. Type it in as you see it. Make sure you can come up with the right value. So you have negative 1/2, 0 minus 2 squared plus 8. You should get 6. The fractions on those? So you can do, yeah, because you divided by 2 and put your If you didn't get 6, guys, let me know. If you're struggling with that calculator piece, I don't want finding the y-intercept to be anything tough. All right. Oop, and we haven't been graphing as we go. Maybe some of you have. 2 8s are vertex. I like filling the pieces in as we go. Axis of symmetry is x equals 2. I like drawing the line. It helps me find some points sometimes. Go. Y-intercept is 6. It's 1, 2 away from the middle line. So there's a point on the other side that's 1, 2 boxes away also. So we can tell we were right. It should reflect. We're starting to get that U shape that's going to open down. Last but not least, and this is the part that takes the most work. X-intercepts, we put 0 in for Y. I wanted to make sure we saw one where we had to find x-intercepts and we had a fraction in there. So let's get rid of our 8 first. Positive 8, so we need 2. Subtract 8. And now this is something, again, guys, you can go to the calculator for this. On the other side, we divided by 2. This time, we're going to divide by -1/2. So try that out in your calculator. You should get 16. You should get a 16. So try that out. If you're not getting a 16 when you take -8 divided by -1/2, let me know. I want to show you how to enter that. I don't want computation to stop us from being able to graph. So then we're going to have to solve with our square roots. Did you get your 16? And we're going to do our square roots here. Oh, we're going to solve right now. We're going to solve right now. So if you guys all have your 16, it's what we talked about before. To undo that squared, we got a square root. The square root is 16. If you put that in your calculator, it's going to tell you 4. But then we have to remember it could also be -4. Add your 2. So we've got -2, and we've got 6. So how are we doing on the graph? Is that part okay?
Your girlfriend that's gonna last less than 2 days.
So you're gonna have it's 4, but you're also gonna have -4. So we're gonna have those 2 x-intercepts, and then just add our 2 to both sides. Now if you want to, we're gonna do the change part. And then I'm going to give you guys one to try, and that's all we have today. If you want to try to change it ahead of me, and then we can see where you're at, you sure can. When we do the change part, we want to take care of the squared first.
It can be hard to breathe. Oh. Is he good?
So remember, to square something, it means it's going to be that thing times itself. So we're going to have x minus 2 times itself. And then go ahead and distribute. If you draw arrows, some of you make boxes, whatever you like for that. Get x squared minus 2x minus 2x. But then it's going to be a plus 4. We have a -2 times a -2. It's going to be a plus 4. Don't forget we still have that negative 1/2, and we still have the positive 8.
That's you sleeping? No. Oh, hold on, I can't see. I got you.
Put together a negative 2x's, we get negative 4x. So far, guys, to this point, I know it makes it look messier because we have the negative 1/2 and we have the plus 8. But so far, when we're changing it, it's the same thing we reviewed last week. The x minus 2 times x minus 2. We haven't done anything else yet. Now, if there's a number out front, now I have to distribute. And it's okay, we're going to have a negative 1/2 x squared. Negative 1/2 times negative 4, it's going to give me a positive 2. Negative 1/2 times positive 4 is going to get me negative 2. I can combine the negative 2 and the 8. Remember, I don't change any signs. I'm just putting them together as is. So I know it looks like a lot of steps, but that whole first part, that's what we reviewed last week with your distributing, or maybe you like to call it FOIL, whatever you like. Now we pick out, here's my A, here's my B, and here's my C. So next lesson, so in a couple days I'll see you guys again, and we'll start graphing. But we're going to start with standard form, and we're going to figure out how to get all the pieces that we need.